Fair to highlight Lukaku?
Yeah, because he's the talisman that's going to get him he got a goal, deflection. But then he had the chances in the second half. The one that hits the goalkeeper from point-blank range, which he had time and space to pick his corner out, pick his spot out. He didn't. Then he has another opportunity to go round the goalkeeper, which he does, but his touch is so heavy, it gets away from him. Lautaro Martinez did get the ball in the back of the net, I think on a couple of occasions, but he was offside. He looked arguably a bigger threat as the game wore on. And then after that, and Ali pointed it out before, we never saw Lukaku, did we?
Well, and that's the scary part, because I've sat here and defended that Lukaku has scored goals for Inter and has done the job that he was brought in to do. Well, today is the sort of game in which you need Lukaku to be the guy, to be the man. It's okay you miss an opportunity. It's okay that you take that donkey touch around the goalkeeper and it gets away from you. Okay, fine. But you were pressuring Barcelona. There was going to be another opportunity for you out there, and you have to take advantage of it. And what we saw from Lukaku is essentially a mindset of a guy who clearly it was in his head that he had missed a few chances, and then he got passive. And it was Lautaro Martinez that was running around trying to force something, whereas Lukaku, very sort of standing still, waiting for something maybe fall to him, and very inactive towards the latter part of the game, which is when you need the guy, the man, the one who's going to put you over the top, to be active and to be trying to get that all-important goal.
Well, he lacks composure. That's the basic. That's the basic problem Lukaku has. It's not that he doesn't put 100% in. It's not that he doesn't get in good positions. But when it comes down to it, he's always relying on pace and power, and there's no composure whatsoever. He had an opportunity in the penalty box as well. He took a shot first time, completely mishit it, and that's because of a lack of composure, which you can't argue with.
Thursdays and Sundays are going to be fun.
Well, go on, Gab.
I think, no, I just going to say, like, I mean, obviously, if they bury those chances, I mean, you guys are right, I think, to focus on Lukaku and Lautaro and those chances that were missed in the first game. I think what was very evident in this match is that once Inter found themselves effectively chasing because they didn't put those chances away, it was just going to get tougher and tougher for them, because you look at that midfield and the players that they have, there's no Sainty, there's no Barella. They completely lack dynamism. They can't get around the pitch. So they can't go and press Barcelona high. You know, you can't go after Todibo and guys like Wague and guys like that further away. They have to defend deeper, which means they never get the ball back. And when they do win it back, they got to try to get the length of the pitch. And they simply don't have this version with Borja Valero and guys like that out there, this version of Brozovic. They simply don't have the energy to do that. So the only way they're going to win this is if they scored first and then somehow managed the game. And once they were chasing it, I think it was always going to be uphill.
This doesn't help Conte, does it? Trying to save his reputation regarding his run in Europe of late, Gab?
I don't think he gives a hoot about that relative, or actually, he probably does, although he was very demure and measured after the game. I think there's a big silver lining here. And it's a big silver lining more, I think, for the club, because remember, we've gone through this over signings and resources and stuff like that. The club can now turn around and say, okay, Conte, you're out of the Champions League. We're not really fussed by the Europa League. Now you can't complain that your squad isn't big enough or qualitative enough. Now we expect you to go and to win Serie A. And I think right now, to the club and to their journey back to where they want to be, that matters more. You know, I'm talking about the owners here, than a run in Europe where then you run into Real Madrid or Manchester City and then you go out in the round of 16. You know, whoop-de-doo.
Genuine silver lining?
Get knocked out.
Well, he's got a point, though, isn't it? Now it's going to be every
surely
week.
The silver lining is if the further they advance, then financially they bring in more money, which means they can go and get more players. I mean, surely winning is the silver lining to everything that you're trying to get. Why was that a silver lining when you get knocked out and you're now in the Europa League?
Stevie, well, I think they're going to mail it in the Europa League. I don't think that they're fussed. I know this for a fact. I'm obviously saying it's still a cloud. When you have a silver lining, there's still a big cloud there. But the reality is, from the club's perspective, had they still been in Europe or in the Champions League come January, the marginal difference of getting knocked out in the round of 16 or in the quarterfinal and getting knocked out in the group stage for a club like Inter isn't going to be as big as the cost you have to incur in January to have an angry Conte saying, look, I'm top of the table. I got us through out of a group as a 4 seed, out of a group with Borussia Dortmund and Barcelona. Now let's go and spend some money. I think this is how a portion of the club views it. I'm sure they would have rather advanced, but from their perspective, this certainly isn't a tragedy.
I'm
They're
guessing
never going to get anywhere then.
yeah.
Why spend 90
will.
million on a player? Why bring players in? I know they've got some injuries. Why bring a manager in, a successful manager, domestically anyway? Why bring these guys in if, as a club, you're quite happy not to further yourself? On the other side of the coin,
But if it means they win the league, then...
well, you say that.
But that's an if.
And you say that because didn't Napoli under Sarri a couple of years ago mail it in the Europa League and still run out of gas at the end of the season? So there are no guarantees for mailing it in and getting success. What?
No, of course there's no guarantees, but Sarri isn't Conte. Sarri a couple of years ago didn't go and threaten to burn down the house, metaphorically, obviously, if they didn't get more investment in. I mean, that's the reality of it. They're in a different situation right now. They're in a different place and a different time to where Napoli was. They're a different club with a different history. There's no question that knocking Juventus off their... Yeah, would it be better if they won the Champions League? Sure, it would have been a lot better if they'd won the Champions League. But if this gives them a better chance of going and winning Serie A this season, after knocking Juventus off their perch after 8 years, that matters more in the club's timeline in Conte's first season than going into a run in Europe where you're likely to not make it past the round of 16 or at best the quarterfinals.
Maybe in the front office that makes sense. Maybe administratively that makes sense. But for the players on the field and the technical staff, you're trying to win the game. You don't see this big picture. Well, if we do this, and then if we do that, and then if we pull the resources from there, and we're able to achieve this. No, you're there to win. You're there to compete and advance in the competition as far as you possibly can. So when you see Antonio Conte and his reactions when the team scores today, and he's excited and he's going into halftime, and here's an opportunity, it's because he's thinking about advancing. He's not thinking about, you know what, this gives us a better opportunity to win Serie A title. That I do not buy whatsoever.
Round of 16s.
Oh,
Chelsea, Lyon, Dortmund now, not Inter. Napoli, who, correct me if I'm wrong, Inter are above. All these other clubs that are likely to be there, possibly Shakhtar Donetsk, all these are we saying Inter Milan are top of Serie A and spent some big bucks in the summer are just mailing it in, Gab, because they think, we can't compete with these teams in the knockout stages? Are you saying they can't compete with some of those clubs that I just mentioned?
First of all, they're not playing those clubs, Craig. They wouldn't be playing those clubs. They would have finished second in the group, so they wouldn't be going and playing Lyon or whatever. They finished second in the group.
But even clubs like Manchester City are not playing well. Man City are not playing well. There's an example.
So Inter'd be favoured against Man City. Come on. I'm not saying for 1 second that there is a single person at Inter or even a single Inter fan that is over the moon tonight and is happy at being knocked out. I'm not suggesting that one bit. But, and Conte's words after the game where he didn't tantrum, he didn't pull his hair, or whoever's hair that is, he didn't pull it out of his head, he didn't scream and shout. I think all of this speaks to the fact that they knew it was going to be a tall order when the group was drawn. Remember, they were 4 seeds, in the group. They look at this and they turn it around and they turn a negative into a positive, which is I think what people generally try to do when they suffer setbacks, and they go and they try to win the league. And this gives them a better chance of winning the league.
No, I'm just looking at some other teams. Valencia, Red Bull Leipzig, Bayern Munich, who are struggling. Let's just... why is there always an excuse?
It's not an excuse.
This gives us a better chance to win the league. What utter nonsense.
It
Liverpool
does.
didn't lose the league last year because they went to the Champions League final. They lost the league because, unfortunately for them, there was just a team that was just slightly better. It's just full of excuses.
Liverpool are a different club with a different manager and different players.
Why is all these excuses?
It's not an excuse.
It is.
Listen, If I were making excuses, I would have said, oh, they're unlucky, they went out. They weren't unlucky. They deserved to go out.
Well,
they
we saw
deserved to go out because of what they did against Borussia Dortmund, what they did against Slavia Prague, what they did against Barcelona at the Camp Nou, and what they did in the first half against Barcelona this evening. This is why they deserve to win out.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.